The Chiefs have lost Patrick Mahomes, but they got to work their worst-case scenario to keep moving forward today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network with Locked On Chiefs, your daily show for the Kansas City Chiefs on Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports network right now going for podcasts. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you everydayers making that listen. Whether it's a good topic or not, or a bad day like it is today, you everydayers keep us going, and we very much appreciate you. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. If you want to get right in the middle of the action, non-Chiefs or otherwise right now, go to FanDuel.com, place your live NFL bets all season long. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. I have a piece out on my other site, NFL 33, right now that is all about the timelines about quarterback recovery from ACL tears. Go check that out. Get subbed. You will not regret it. We're going to talk about it some today, and you can find me on RGR Football as well. This is my partner, Chris Clark, partner of 9 seasons. Not many end like this, but 9 seasons. You can find him over at KC Chiefs Corner, running down quarterback metrics, the cap, things that are going to be very important for the next 6 months as we go through this and get to the draft. We appreciate you being here. I know it's a tough day. We are going to run it down for you. Got a little short out last night, but we haven't had a full discussion about the Mahomes injury and about his future. That is coming right away from this show. Then playing for today or playing for the future. It's a bit of both for the rest of these 52 players. And then what do we need to watch for? What are the positive signs and what are the things to be careful of watching this week for the Kansas City Chiefs? But it all comes down to the fact that it is an ACL tear for Patrick Mahomes. We don't know several things, and that includes if there's any collateral damage to any of the other ligament structures or a meniscus, two very common things that if you look through and you check out that piece on NFL 33, it lists out like the commonality of having additional injuries is very, very, very common for most quarterbacks that go down with this. So that does affect the prognosis, and we'll have to get to that. But the other thing we don't know is exactly where it is or what the grade is, and he is going, Andy Reid announced today on Monday in his presser that Patrick is going for a second opinion just to verify. I believe he's going down in Dallas, and I guess that'll determine where it is done. But it is as significant, as worst case scenario as we could have thought.
And you know who else is going to have an opinion on this? Guaranteed.
Everyone?
Well, yeah. I was thinking Bobby Stroop.
Well, yeah.
Not that he's going to affect whether or not Mahomes gets surgery or not, but it's definitely going to affect when he returns and how he returns, and when he returns. And you talk about how this injury is going to affect Kansas City. I mean, you laid it out in your article. Prognosis is probably questionable whether or not he can even be healthy enough to play in 2026. There's questions there. We will see. And the other part of the reality with him is not only can he be healthy enough, it's also a question of, generally speaking, what we've seen from people that tear the ACLs is they may come back the same year or the next year, but they still don't look what they look like before. So it could be really 2027 before he really starts looking like maybe himself. So something to watch there. But we talked about this before the show, and I will say this. I will never count out Patrick Mahomes when it comes to injuries and toughness and getting things done and getting ready and trying to figure things out. He played, and I know it's a completely different deal, but he played through a high ankle sprain that he had no business playing through. So he's able to do some different things. And I trust that Bobby's going to get him ready, although I'm sure he's going to have a lot of people in his ear about different things, and we'll see how that goes. But the bigger question when it comes to Mahomes isn't just, is he going to be available? It's, what are they going to do with his salary cap number? And I know we're talking what's his future. I'm not saying they're going to cut him. I want to be clear on that. That's not at all what I'm saying. But he does have a salary cap number of $80 million, almost $80 million in 2026. And especially if he's in a situation where he thinks he's going to have to miss the entire season or at least a large portion of the season, you have to wonder, does that play into how he is looking at 2026 from a contract perspective? Because this was the first year, or one of the first years, that you would expect that this deal was going to get redone, and now there is some injury stuff going into it, and you have a lot of other players that you're going to have to figure out and talk about. There's some easy moves, but Mahomes by himself can free up enough space to get them under the salary cap, and right now they're $42 million over the salary cap. But there's so many things to ask and see how it turns out.
Yeah, and we're going to have to do a whole show after the season on just his impact on the salary cap. Okay, 2. Fair enough. But I will tell you this. I've said it for several years now. Honestly, since he signed that contract, the 2026 was the year to blow it up and start over. And I don't know the clause. We haven't seen the contract. I don't know if it's structured in a way that they can just rip it up. If they were smart, and I'm guessing they were, there is a way for them to mutually agree to just disintegrate that contract and start over. I'm guessing that's in the cards. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's an option.
I don't think it's an option because they've rolled so much money forward from previous years that I don't think that you can rip it up and redo a new deal. I do think you can say, okay, well, we're restructuring this and we'll free up $40 million this year, and maybe we can free up some other stuff, going forward. But the problem is, like, even if you look at his numbers for 2026, like I said, restructuring him frees up like $40 million. I was just looking at this before we hopped on here. They can convert $54.5 million of his compensation to a signing bonus in March, freeing up $43.5 to the salary cap. That gets them under by itself. So you have to think that they're probably going to do that, especially considering the fact that he may not play. But then how do you adjust it going forward for 27, 28, and 29 and all the other years? Like, there's lots of different questions that you have to talk about. Again, the bigger question right now and the thing that we probably should focus on, at least for the next couple of minutes, is what does this mean for his prognosis for playing in the future? Like, I'm not worried that he can come back and play, but at this point, is it going to be in 2026? Is it going to be in 2027? And the other thing I have to say is, how crazy is it that it was the same year, and I think it's the same knee that Tom Brady did, same year in his career, same knee.
It is. Same year in the dynasty.
And the same results for the team, and the fact that they both have 3 Super Bowls when it happened, just the similarities are crazy.
There's no getting away from the GOAT comparison. There just isn't. And thank you for not blaming me for what happened, because I mentioned the similarity between these two franchises and these two quarterbacks a couple weeks ago. But I want to be very clear, and please go read that piece. It's half unlocked. You can join up for a low. There's a great discount going on right now at NFL33.com. You can get to see the whole thing. But the basis is this. They almost always come back. It has to be really severe and have nerve damage involved to be really something that a quarterback can't come back from. So Patrick Mahomes will return. He will have a second era of his career. The question is when. And this late in the year, a lot of guys, I think it was Murray didn't come back until the following November. If that's the case, then you're right. We're looking at 27 before he's in.
And here's my other thing. And I know we need to go to break, and we need to talk about playing for the future or today in just a second. But I also wonder if the fact that Kansas City is going to be looking at this from the perspective of Mahomes could be out all of 2026. If they play it from the worst case scenario, he could be out all of 2026. I'm not saying you punt on 2026, but does that make you make some different moves on your offense and your defense and trying to figure out and get ready for a real run in 2027 when he returns? I think that if they think he's going to be out, we could see a huge clearing, because they want to be ready to compete and do whatever they can in 2027 to load up in 2027.
That's true. And they're not structurally ready for that as they exist today.
Correct. So something to watch there. When we get back, we're going to be talking about how this is going to affect playing for today versus playing for the future right after this.
NFL Sundays move fast, sometimes too fast if you're Patrick Mahomes. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. And what's making it interesting for some, maybe not us, is live betting with FanDuel. It makes it super exciting for those other games. It's not just the game that you're watching. It's the one that you're reacting to in real time, and that changes the way that it works. With FanDuel, you can place bets with action unfolds every second of the way, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, when you get something new. A receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, or the momentum flips on a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the action at that moment with live spreads and money lines instantly adjusting, player props that on the guys that are heating up. You can get into those right at the moment that it happens. And for the Chiefs, there's going to be a lot of question about who steps up in the near term to be the guy that gets hot so that they can try to continue to compete as they have. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action right now this season with FanDuel, you need to get there at FanDuel.com. Place your live bets all season long at FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you.
Thank you for making Locked On Chiefs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up another level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Chiefs with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonchiefs.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Big topic. I'm not exactly sure where I sit on this because I could argue both sides, and I have argued both sides. The first one for me, though, quite frankly, is what do you do with Xavier Worthy? Because to me, he's been injured all season. You shut him down. You have him get his surgery on his shoulder that he likely needs, and you have him get ready for 2026.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. And I agree with you because it protects the future. Xavier has been playing through a lot. And quite frankly, this is one of the few positions that you can afford to do it because you have Jalen Royals waiting in the wings. He needs to get some reps. He needs to get some exposure. So at the wide receiver position, I think both these things happen. You play for today, meaning letting Xavier not play, and you play for the future by getting Royals onto the field and getting him some exposure, working with Juju and Rashee Rice and getting used to what that's going to be. It's been a tough road for him basically because he's just the youngest guy, the least experienced guy on the totem pole in what is a very thick group. I think this is an opportunity for him.
Yeah, and I think that there's other opportunities to be made too. I mean, you could probably make an argument that you need to get Jared Wiley involved in the offense over the next couple of weeks. See what he can do. You haven't used him at all. You know what you have in Travis Kelce. You know what you have in Noah Gray. Those guys are going to be playing. They're not going to sit out the rest of the season, and I'm fine with that. But you need to get some of the younger guys some time. And honestly, why not have Brashard Smith run the ball 10 times a game? Why not get him 15 touches a game? Like, I'm not saying you have to force feed him the ball and give him the ball 20 times, but he should get 10 to 15 touches a game pretty simply. At this point, there's no way you're staying with Isaiah Pacheco in 2026. And maybe you bring Kareem Hunt back just because you need his short yardage back. I have no problem with that. But check what you have at the younger positions. And I know you want to talk defense, and we will in just a second, but I would also say you go young at the offensive line. Continue playing Pole at left tackle. Continue playing more at right tackle. I would consider putting in Norzad.
You only have 2 more quarterbacks. You can't get them all crushed.
That's true. But I'm just saying, get Norzad some experience.
Yeah.
There's no reason you continue to have Caliendo running out there when he hasn't been playing well. Get Norzad some experience. And, they have the other young guy that they could use too. I'm not saying that they should go all young on the offensive line. Obviously, Suamatia needs to continue playing, and there's no way you're getting Creed Humphrey out of the game. So,
and that's good. And those two together are important, right? But I agree.
Sure.
CJ Hansen's now on the 53. So if you're going to be paying him on the 53, play him on the 53. We've seen what Mike Caliendo can do. You're not getting more out of Mike Caliendo. He's not an ascending player at this point. So let's see what you got. I agree with you on the offensive line as well. The defensive line, you're playing for the future, no matter what. There's a couple of guys. Charles Omenihu is a free agent. So maybe he'll give you something. Maybe he'll raise his game because he has nothing else to play for right now than himself because he's not in Kansas City next year. They can't afford it.
Nope.
Ashton Gelati is playing for the future. And I think what you saw in spurts the last couple of weeks is a good sign, but they have to you just started that little that little Tinder fire, right? You got to get the logs on. You got to build the bonfire for him. And I think this is a good opportunity to do that because they're going to be on defense a lot.
They are. And I think that you have to look at, can you get any other young guys reps at the defensive end position as well? Can you do anything to, I'm not saying, you have to sit Dana, but Dana more than likely at this point, I would think, especially if you have an injury with long-term Mahomes and you think that he's possibly not going to be in a situation where he plays in 2026 or not until late, why have Dana on the roster? You can free up space, go younger at that position. You're going to need defensive line anyway. It's something to think about for the future. But the other one that I would really want to see, I don't know where McDuffie is in his injury, and I don't know how close he was to playing on Sunday. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm probably shutting him down another week because if you want him to be healthy to play, that's fine. I don't think he would be able to be there close to 100% healthy by the end of this week. We'll see. But what are you going to do with Drew Tranquil? Can you let Jeff Bossa go out there and play some? See him at least? Get him some snaps? I'm not saying you have to start him.
I agree.
But get him in there.
Jack Cochran's a free agent too. Jack Cochran should not be back on this roster. We've seen that. Special teams is not enough. Special teams on this team is not enough. So your next option with Drew Tranquil likely to depart from this team after the season as well, you have to see what you have in Bossa. Can you rely on him to start down the stretch? I don't think that's true, but you do have to get him significant reps. I don't mean 5 or 10. I mean like 30 to see what he's actually capable of.
Yeah. Get him out there, see what he can do. And then you start looking at the other guys on the back end. What are you going to do? Brian Cook, I can't imagine there's any possibility that Brian Cook is back on this team in 2026. So at that point, why isn't Jaden Hicks out there playing? Why can't you get him out there and at least have him out there on the field playing and giving you some looks? Because I'm not saying you have to bench Cook, to be clear. Not saying you have to do that. But if you know he's not in your plans for 2026, why are you not trying to play some of the guys that will be in your plans for 2026? And another guy that I would say is probably not in their plans in 2026, and this is really going to hurt some people, Christian Fulton. I would be really shocked if he's back in 2026 based on the deal that he signed and the fact that they could save some money by cutting him. I do think that probably happens. They're going to need the salary cap space.
Yeah, there's literally no chance he is on this roster. Zero contribution has he made. You cannot. It would be malfeasance for this front office to allow him to return. So that's just the bottom line. But there are some things in between the extremes that we do need to watch. In particular, someone's got to step up and become the leader on the offensive side of the ball. Travis Kelce cannot be it. He can't throw the ball. Sorry, Travis, you're not going to get that opportunity. Someone has to step up. I think I know who it is after this.
Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances. Because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. I like how Rocket Money automatically builds budgets based on past spending. It helps you keep track without overthinking it. The bill alerts and spending notifications help you catch small things before they turn into big expenses. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
A lot of things can change, and it does reveal the character of a team. What you have to watch this week is for who's stepping up to the microphone, who's stepping out when it comes to being the guy that becomes the face of the franchise. Travis Kelce is about as depressed as I've ever seen him coming off of that game, understanding that could have been the last time that he plays with Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know that I can expect him to do that. Chris Jones stepped up at the podium, but I got to tell you, I feel like he was pretty sapped also. It's about the resiliency of this team and who steps up to help those guys kind of lead it forward, because as much as you hate to move on without Patrick Mahomes, you have to. You got to get stuff done. You are a professional and you still have to go play ball in order to win.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough because you're the face of the franchise, the face of the NFL is going to be out indefinitely for quite a while. I mean, we can speculate, and we'll talk about it when we get more information on the full extent of the injury. I do find it interesting he's getting a second opinion. Not shocking, but it is interesting that he's going to do that. So how does that play out? How does all of this go to a situation where they know they have nothing to play for? It's all for pride at this point. You can't make the playoffs. It's all for pride. It's all a question of, do you go out there and win based on the fact that you want to show that you're a better team than whoever you end up playing? And this week's a little bit easier than the next one, but you have a tough game coming up against the Broncos in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a brutal game. You have nothing to play for against the team that's more than likely going to win the AFC West without Patrick Mahomes at home on Christmas.
And you can't even spoil it for them. There's literally nothing there. Like it won't detract from them. Now that they have a game lead, they'd be in a tie and they would have the tiebreakers again against New England. So there's just nothing there. So I want to see individual players step up. I have to see what Wiley has. I don't know that Tanyan's destined to come back to this roster, but he could make an impression this week working with a new quarterback. Andy Reid did not rule out Gardner Minshew coming back to this team next year. That is out there. I know a lot of people would be disappointed with that. I don't know that you can go into a season designating Gardner Minshew as your starter, but it's up to him. If he lights it on fire, he has to at least make the argument, right?
Yeah, and I would argue that, I know we're talking about this week, but I would argue that maybe this is the year that the Chiefs maybe should be looking at a quarterback in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. Like, is there a QB you can get? I understand you've wanted a veteran for every single time that Mahomes has been here. I understand that. I get it. But at this point, if you think Mahomes isn't going to go, you're almost doing a malpractice by not drafting a QB, because you're going to have probably a veteran as your starter, have a young kid learning under him and learning in the building with Patrick Mahomes for a year, and then maybe he can be your backup and a cheaper backup for 2027.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there could be options that fall to the top of day 3. There's a kid from Vanderbilt that I love his attitude. He lost out on the Heisman and he basically lit the world on fire. Like, I don't know if he's the best player, but I like his attitude. I said the same thing about Mahomes. I said, Mahomes, I don't know about his footwork, but he's got that arm. Let's see what happens. There are options there. It will do, I think, a lot of telling of who they put where in what situation. Do they try to spread around? Is Gardner Minshew just the guy from start to finish for the rest of the year? Who's out there with him, whether it's Royals, whether it's those tight ends? You mentioned Smith. There's no reason that you don't involve Rashard Smith now, because no matter who the quarterback is next year, a draft pick, Gardner Minshew, or a free agent acquisition, you have to run the ball more. You have to take pressure off of that quarterback position no matter what. There are no excuses for that, and you have Smith in-house.
Honestly, the thing that pisses me off about Smith, you saw some of the very little things that he could do in the preseason. They haven't done all season.
Yep.
That's what pisses me off the most. You talk about running the ball. I'm not even going to argue for running the ball. Use him in the passing game like he showed you he could do in the preseason. That's what I would argue for. There's no reason you can't use him in the passing game. None.
Yeah. You have to see what you have there. The others, a lot of positions that we've talked about already, we know that there's a path and we know there's identified talent. I will say this. We have to see Jalen Watson ball out if he wants to be a Chief. I think it's very difficult to see both Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie on this roster next year. It may be a stretch. Sure. But he has the opportunity now, especially with McDuffie out, which, by the way, the contract for McDuffie is falling as we speak every week that he's out. It knocks a little bit off of that price tag. And that's the way negotiations happen in this league. Jalen Watson has an opportunity, if not here, definitely in his next team, to earn a contract, earn a spot by making a statement, by not going into the tank. And he has been a kind of a mercurial athlete for this team. If he steps up and becomes a pillar for this defense to rely on going forward, he might carve himself out a niche.
Well, it's crazy because he's been like every single season until this year. And I'll give it back to our guy, Therese Paylor. The contract year is undefeated. And every single year, except for this year, he's had some sort of injury. Now, not going to say it doesn't happen in the last 3 weeks. It could. He could be playing through stuff that we don't know about. But he's been dealing with some serious injuries throughout his career, and it doesn't seem to be hampering him this year. The other guy I want to see more Kevin Knowles. Not because I think he played great. He did struggle at times, but he's a young player. You need to get him snaps. You need to see what you have there, because regardless of whether or not you think he's an option at the corner in the corner room, he definitely is on special teams. He shows up on special teams, and that is valuable at that back end corner position. So it becomes a question of, can you find somebody that can be that fifth corner that can actually step in and maybe give you a couple of snaps if they need to, and be a core special teams guy?
Yeah.
That's Josh Williams won't be here. Sorry.
No, I'm totally with you. It's Joshua Williams should not be at this point. And I think the problem here is that it puts a lot of things into flux. So for the front office, whatever your plan was, this changes it from the top down, from spending to drafting to free agency. It changes everything. It is a absolute scramble in the front office in Kansas City right now. And it also means that there's opportunity to be had. If you are a returner, somebody like Charles Omenihu, somebody like Drew Tranquil, Leo Chenal in particular is a huge free agent this season. This is an opportunity to make your stand and prove that you can be part of the solution in a year that looks at least to miss half a season with Mahomes at a minimum. They need somebody else to stand up that they can rely on.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And the other question, and we haven't talked about this, so I am curious. Do you think, had Mahomes not got hurt, they still lose the game, they're out of the playoffs, do you think I know we're talking about a little bit of a different situation, but do you think that they go as young as we're talking about with Mahomes playing? Definitely not on the offensive line. I don't think that they would do that. That'd be malpractice, and I think that you should consider losing your job if you were to put him out there. But the reality is that with nothing to play for, even if you had Mahomes, I'm not so sure he would have played in week 16, I guess, and maybe not even in week 17, because there's no reason to run him out there if his knee is not close to 100%, which it obviously wasn't. And I do think that really caused him some issues during the game that you saw with him not being able to hit some of the passes he had.
I agree. And I think we will find out in retrospect that it's been bothering him a lot longer than we were aware of. And I think a lot of the short passes, there could be that as well. But I think a lot of that mechanically goes into what we've been seeing all season long with the lack of inaccuracy, the deep balls all over the place. I do think that all feeds in. And I agree with you. Even if they had lost the game, but he was intact, I think they would have considered putting him on the shelf. I would have advocated for it, for that knee alone, to avoid what we're talking about right now and having to think about at least half of a season, not 8 games, because I know there's 17 games now, folks. I keep reminding myself. At least half of a season without him. This is the worst case scenario, and they're just going to have to fight through it. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear what your positive spin is on this. We're going to get with Matt Derrick and see how the room, the locker room, the field, the equipment manager, we're going to see how everybody's feeling tomorrow when Matt gets back from being in the facility, and we'll have that for you tomorrow, as well as our crossover, because the league goes on. Quarterback or not, there's another game. We're going to get you the information. We're going to get you ready on Friday as well. So do not miss a show this week, especially if you are a diehard fan like we are and you want to know the business, whether he's on the field or not. We appreciate you. It's been a very, very difficult couple of days, but we appreciate you spending your time with us. We recognize that is not required, but we thank you for it. We are going to do our best to power through this, give you all the angles so you know what's coming next, so that we can make up for the losses that we have sustained this season. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you tomorrow.